There's something peculiar about the way we perceive success in other people. We catch glimpses of their victories, their celebrations, their moments of triumph. We scroll through announcements of promotions, business launches, and achievements. And somewhere in our minds, we begin to believe that these things simply happened. That one morning, fortune smiled upon them and everything clicked into place. But that's never the story. Not really. What we witness is the tip of an iceberg, the smallest fraction of a much larger reality that exists beneath the waterline. The visible success sits atop years of invisible struggle, countless hours of unremarkable effort, and seasons of wondering whether any of it would ever amount to anything at all. I want to talk to you today about the long game. Not because it's glamorous, not because it's exciting, but because it's the only game that actually produces results worth having. The hidden architecture. Every meaningful achievement has a hidden architecture. There are supporting beams and foundation stones that nobody ever photographs. There are late nights reviewing spreadsheets, early mornings practicing presentations, weekends spent learning skills that won't pay dividends for years. Consider someone you admire. Perhaps it's an entrepreneur whose company seems to have exploded onto the scene. Perhaps it's an artist whose work suddenly commands attention. Perhaps it's a colleague who received a promotion that seemed to come from nowhere. Now consider what you don't know about their journey. You don't know about the rejection letters. You don't know about the failed attempts that preceded the successful ones. You don't know about the mentors who told them to quit, the friends who drifted away because they couldn't understand the obsession, the family members who questioned their choices. You don't know about the moments of profound doubt, the nights lying awake wondering if persistence had crossed the line into delusion, the financial pressures, the relationship strains, the physical exhaustion of carrying a dream that nobody else could see. All of that remains invisible. All of that stays hidden behind the finished product. And here's what's dangerous about this invisibility. It creates an illusion that success arrives quickly for some people and not for others. It makes us believe that we're somehow behind, that we're missing something, that the path should be faster and smoother than it actually is. But the path is never fast. The path is never smooth. The path is exactly what it needs to be to prepare you for what's coming. The compound effect of consistent action. Let me introduce you to a principle that governs nearly everything worth building. I call it the compound effect of consistent action. Think about how compound interest works in finance. A small amount of money, invested regularly over time, eventually becomes a fortune. The early years show almost no progress. The numbers barely move. But something magical happens when consistency meets time. The growth curve begins to steepen. What once seemed insignificant becomes substantial. What once seemed impossible becomes inevitable. The same principle applies to every domain of life. When you practice a skill daily, the early sessions produce almost nothing visible. Your improvement is so incremental that you can barely measure it. But each session deposits something into your account. Each repetition adds to your foundation. And after months or years of this invisible accumulation, you suddenly find yourself operating at a level you couldn't have imagined when you started. This is why most people never achieve mastery in anything. They expect linear progress. They expect each day to show measurable improvement. When it doesn't, they become discouraged. They switch to something new, something that might offer faster results. And the cycle repeats. But those who understand the compound effect know better. They understand that the early stages of any worthwhile pursuit are characterized by invisible progress. They understand that faith in the process must substitute for evidence of results. They understand that the breakthrough, when it comes, will seem sudden to observers but will feel earned to those who lived through the accumulation. The 3 seasons of achievement. Every significant accomplishment passes through 3 distinct seasons. Understanding these seasons can transform your relationship with progress and patience. The season of planting. This is the beginning, the moment when you commit to something new. There's energy here, excitement, possibility. You're laying seeds in fresh soil, imagining what might grow. You're making plans, gathering resources, telling people about your vision. The planting season feels hopeful. It's characterized by enthusiasm and optimism. You believe everything is possible because nothing has been tested yet. But here's what most people don't realize. The planting season is brief. It's a small fraction of the total journey. And it's not where the real work happens. The season of tending. This is where everything is decided. The season of tending is long, often uncomfortable, and almost entirely invisible to the outside world. During this season, you show up every day to do work that produces no obvious results. You water seeds that haven't sprouted. You pull weeds that keep returning. You protect your crops from storms and pests and drought. Nothing looks different. Nothing feels triumphant. You might go weeks or months without any sign that your efforts are working. This is the season that breaks most people. They planted with enthusiasm, but they weren't prepared for the grinding reality of tending. They expected the seeds to leap from the soil immediately. When they didn't, disappointment set in. Doubt crept through the door. Eventually, they walked away from fields that were about to produce abundantly. The tending season asks uncomfortable questions. Do you really want this? Are you willing to keep showing up without applause? Can you maintain faith when evidence is absent? Those who answer yes become the ones who eventually harvest. The season of harvest. And then, after what feels like forever, the harvest arrives. Suddenly everything you planted begins to mature. The fruit appears on branches. The rewards materialize. The world notices what you've built. To observers, this looks like overnight success. They see the harvest without context. They assume luck or talent or some secret advantage. But you know better. You remember every morning of tending. You remember every moment of doubt you pushed through. You understand that the harvest is not luck. It's the accumulated return on patience and persistence. The harvest comes to those who didn't quit during the tending season. That's the only qualification. Stay faithful when nothing is visible, and eventually you'll have something to show for it. Patience as an active discipline. There's a common misconception about patience that I want to address directly. Many people think patience means waiting passively for things to happen. They picture patience as sitting still, hoping circumstances will change on their own. That's not patience. That's passivity. And passivity produces nothing. Real patience is intensely active. It's the discipline of continuing to work while results remain invisible. It's the practice of improving during the waiting period. It's the commitment to becoming better prepared for the opportunity you're waiting for. Think about an athlete training for a competition years away. They don't sit on the couch waiting for the event to arrive. They train every single day. They refine their technique. They study their competitors. They build strength and endurance and mental toughness. That's active patience. That's the kind of waiting that leads somewhere. If you're in a season of waiting right now, ask yourself honestly, what am I doing with this time? Am I using it to prepare? Am I becoming the person who can handle the success I'm hoping for? Or am I simply counting days and feeling frustrated? The quality of your waiting determines the quality of your results. The discipline dividend. Every act of discipline pays a dividend. Not immediately, not obviously, but inevitably. When you make the harder choice because it's right, you're depositing something into an account that will pay interest over time. When you keep your word even though breaking it would be easier, you're building something invisible but real. When you do the work nobody sees, you're laying foundations that will support structures you can't yet imagine. I call this the discipline dividend. It's the unseen return on consistent right action. The discipline dividend shows up in unexpected ways. It appears as reputation. People begin to notice that you're reliable, that you follow through, that you do what you say you'll do. Opportunities start flowing toward you because you've become someone who can be trusted with them. It appears as capability. Each disciplined action builds your skills slightly. Over time, you become genuinely excellent at things that once seemed impossible. You develop a competence that can't be faked or shortcut. It appears as confidence. When you keep promises to yourself, you develop an internal trust. You know you'll follow through because you have a track record of following through. That self-trust becomes the foundation for ambitious action. And perhaps most importantly, it appears as identity. Each disciplined choice is a vote for the kind of person you're becoming. Stack enough votes in one direction, and you transform yourself at the deepest level. The discipline dividend doesn't announce itself. Compounds quietly in the background while you're busy doing the work. But one day you look up and realize that all those small deposits have become a fortune. The time investment principle. Everything of value requires a time investment. There are no exceptions to this principle. You can accelerate many things. You can find better strategies. You can learn from others' mistakes. You can optimize your approach. But you cannot skip the time investment entirely. Some amount of patient, sustained effort is always required. This is frustrating in a culture obsessed with speed. We want instant results. We want immediate gratification. We want transformation without transition. But the universe doesn't work that way. Mastery takes time. Trust takes time. Wisdom takes time. Strong relationships take time. Financial security takes time. Physical health takes time. Anyone promising to eliminate the time requirement is selling an illusion. Shortcuts exist for specific tactics, but not for fundamental transformation. You can find a shorter path to a destination, but you cannot teleport there. The journey itself is part of the process. Understanding this liberates you from the anxiety of comparison. When you see someone who seems further ahead, you can remember that they've simply invested more time. They've walked more miles on the same path. Given enough time and consistent effort, you'll arrive at similar destinations. The question is never whether the time investment will pay off. It always does for those who commit to it. The question is whether you're willing to make the investment without guaranteed timelines. Managing the emotional landscape. The long game requires more than strategy and discipline. It requires emotional management. Because along the way, you'll encounter feelings that threaten to derail everything. Doubt will visit regularly. It will whisper that your efforts are wasted, that others are more talented, that the odds are against you. Doubt is a normal part of any ambitious journey, but it becomes dangerous when you let it make decisions. Frustration will build during the tending season. Progress will feel impossibly slow. You'll watch others seemingly leap ahead while you're still grinding. Frustration, left unchecked, leads to rash decisions and abandoned projects. Envy will creep in when you witness others' harvests. You'll forget that their harvest came after their own invisible tending season. You'll see only the results and feel cheated. Impatience will surge periodically. You'll want to force faster progress. You'll be tempted by shortcuts that promise acceleration but deliver hollow results. The emotionally intelligent player of the long game acknowledges all these feelings without being controlled by them. They feel doubt but take action anyway. They experience frustration but channel it into energy. They notice envy but use it as information about their own desires. They feel impatience but practice the discipline of steady progress. Emotional management isn't about eliminating negative feelings. It's about creating space between feeling and action. It's about choosing responses instead of reacting impulsively. This is perhaps the most underrated skill in achievement. The ability to feel one thing while doing another. The ability to doubt while still showing up. The ability to be tired while still putting in the work. The ability to be afraid while still moving forward. Staying faithful to the process. There will be moments when faithfulness to the process is all you have left. When motivation has evaporated. When results remain invisible. When easier paths seem appealing. In those moments, faithfulness becomes your competitive advantage. Most people abandon their efforts during these valleys. They interpret the absence of visible progress as evidence of failure. They assume the strategy isn't working and switch to something new. They never discover what lay just beyond the point where they gave up. But those who stay faithful through the valleys eventually emerge onto higher ground. They discover that faithfulness itself was creating invisible progress. They find that the very act of continuing deposited something valuable into their accounts. Faithfulness to the process means trusting the system even when the system hasn't produced results yet. It means believing in the compound effect before you've witnessed it. It means operating on principle rather than feeling. This doesn't mean blind persistence. Sometimes strategies need adjustment. Sometimes the path needs correction. But there's a crucial difference between adjusting tactics and abandoning the mission. Stay faithful to your mission. Stay faithful to your vision of what's possible. Stay faithful to the daily practices that move you forward. Adjust the how when necessary, but protect the what and the why. The breakthrough phenomenon. And then it happens. After all the invisible work, the breakthrough arrives. From the outside, it looks like sudden success. People who haven't witnessed your journey will assume luck or timing or some advantage they don't possess. They'll ask what happened, searching for the magic moment that changed everything. But you'll know the truth. The breakthrough wasn't a single moment. It was the accumulation of countless moments, each one building on the last, until the weight became undeniable. The breakthrough is when the invisible becomes visible. It's when the compound effect crosses a threshold and the growth curve steepens dramatically. It's when all those small deposits finally become large enough to notice. I've seen this phenomenon countless times. The entrepreneur whose business suddenly takes off after years of struggle. The creator whose work suddenly finds an audience after long obscurity. The professional whose career suddenly accelerates after patient skill building. In every case, the story is the same. Years of invisible progress followed by visible results. The invisible work was always real. It just took time to manifest in ways others could see. When your breakthrough comes, and it will come if you stay faithful, remember what it took to get there. Remember the early mornings and late nights. Remember the doubt you pushed through. Remember the moments when quitting seemed reasonable. That memory will serve you in multiple ways. It will protect you from believing the success was luck. It will help you explain reality to others who want to understand. And it will prepare you for the next invisible season that lies ahead. Because there's always another level to reach. Another mountain to climb. The long game mindset. Everything I've discussed today points to something deeper than tactics or strategies. Points to a fundamental way of seeing yourself and your journey. The long game mindset is a philosophical orientation toward life. It's the recognition that meaningful results take time and that the process of building them is itself valuable. It's the understanding that quick wins rarely last while slow wins often endure. Those who adopt the long game mindset measure progress differently. They don't compare their beginning to someone else's middle. They don't expect linear progress. They celebrate small wins without requiring large ones. They also relate to setbacks differently. When things go wrong, they see learning opportunities rather than failures. When progress stalls, they see natural seasons rather than personal deficiencies. When doubts arise, they see normal features of any ambitious pursuit rather than signs to quit. The long game mindset transforms your relationship with time. Instead of viewing time as an enemy that delays your gratification, you view it as an ally that enables your growth. Each day becomes an opportunity to add to your foundation rather than a countdown to completion. Perhaps most importantly, the long game mindset protects you from the comparison trap. When you understand that every visible success had an invisible prelude, you stop envying others' harvests. You recognize that they're simply further along on a path you're also walking. Given enough time and faithfulness, you'll have harvests of your own. What becomes possible? When you commit to the long game fully, remarkable things become possible. You become capable of achievements that intimidate quick win seekers. While they're looking for shortcuts, you're building genuine capability. While they're chasing trends, you're developing timeless skills. While they're sprinting and burning out, you're pacing yourself for distances they can't imagine. You develop a resilience that carries you through difficulties. The patience you cultivate during invisible seasons prepares you for challenges that would crush the impatient. You've learned to persist without applause, to work without visible results, to believe without proof. You build relationships grounded in mutual respect and trust. The long game applies to human connections too. Quick relationships produce superficial bonds. Patient investment in others creates deep, lasting connections. You create work that endures beyond the moment. The projects you invest years in developing have a quality that rushed work cannot match. They carry the weight of real expertise, real thought, real care. And ultimately, you become the kind of person who can handle substantial success. This might be the most important outcome of all. Quick success often destroys people because they weren't prepared for it. The pressures and demands exceed their capacity. But success earned through the long game arrives at a person who has been shaped by the journey to that success. A final invitation. I want to leave you with an invitation. Wherever you are in your journey right now, whatever invisible work you're currently doing, whatever doubts you're currently battling, I invite you to recommit to the long game. Recommit to patient progress over quick wins. Recommit to invisible work that will eventually become visible. Recommit to trusting the compound effect even when evidence is thin. Recommit to active patience that prepares you for opportunities. Recommit to the discipline that pays dividends over time. The path won't be easy. There will be seasons of tending when nothing seems to grow. There will be moments of doubt that feel unbearable. There will be temptations to abandon everything for something faster. But I can promise you this: the long game rewards those who play it. The harvest comes to those who don't quit during the tending season. The breakthrough arrives to those who stay faithful through invisible progress. And when you finally look back at your journey, you won't remember the hardship as much as you'll appreciate what it produced. You'll understand that every difficult day was building something. You'll recognize that the struggle was shaping you into someone capable of sustaining success. The long game is not just a strategy for achievement. It's a philosophy for a well-lived life. It's a recognition that the best things take time and that the taking of time adds value to the outcome. Play the long game. Trust the process. Stay faithful through invisible seasons. Your harvest is coming. And when it arrives, you'll know that you earned every bit of it through patient, persistent, purposeful action sustained over time. That's the meaning of the long game. That's the path to success that lasts.